This is Future State, a series of events that are happening far in the future, elseworld stories of your favorite DC superheroes, and we are telling them to you right here at the Comicstorian channel. This is where we take your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read them all dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. So this is Future State, an event that DC Comics ran for 2 months in which they told you a lot of what-if storylines. And today is going to be the ending to the last of the issues that we're going to be covering here. I'll explain where we are in each of these issues, but just so you know before we get into the video, in case you're wondering if you should watch this, it's going to be the finale to Bruce Wayne, the finale to Aquawoman, the finale to this weird Suicide Squad, and the finale to the Batman-Superman storyline. I'll talk more about this at the end of the video, but let's go ahead and get into these Future State storylines so you can wrap up all these plots. Our first story is Future State, Aquaman number 2. And when we last left off, Jackson Hyde was in a prison on a foreign world, and Aquawoman was missing. But he got a message that she had survived their journey here, and she's been in hiding for all those years. Now, let's continue the storyline of Future State, Aquaman number 2. 6 years ago, Aqualass washed up on the shore of a strange island, blood continuing to pour out where she cut off her left leg. Memories of her and Jackson fighting against the great beast begin to fill her mind, and suddenly she hears a voice. "Hello? Excuse me," the voice sings to her. She awakens to crawl away from the water, but the voice continues. "All this blood, do you need all this blood?" The school of shining fish sang to her. She screams in pain as she reaches for what remains of her leg, and she begs the fish to help her. "Help me, please," she gasps at the fish, but they shake back and forth within the water. "We cannot yet. Not without discussions with our headmaster. Glimmerfish deliberations will last no longer than 6 of your months," they tell her, but Andy begins to cry, demanding that the fish help her. "Help me! You have to help me!" She screams, her powers lashing out, compelling the Glimmerfish to aid her. One of them suddenly leaps out of the water, altering its state and transforming into a new leg for Andy. Shocked, she flexes her new toes, marveling at how the leg feels like her old one. "Return our brother to us! Leave this island at once!" the school of Glimmerfish demand. Andy stands on her new leg, explaining to the fish that she didn't mean for this to happen. And she promises that she will return their brother after she finds Jackson. "We will not permit this! You will not survive here without our aid," the school informs her. "Well, my brother is Aquaman, and he taught me everything that he knows. So I'm sorry, but I probably will." The first lesson was hunting. Jackson told her that she shouldn't rely on her powers to survive, so he showed her how to create a bow and hunt for her food. Her first attempt failed, bringing forth laughs of triumph from the Glimmerfish, but finally she completed her task. "There is no moment in which your survival is deserved," the fish tell her. The next lesson was desecration. Jackson taught her that not everything had to be a fight. She tried to come to an understanding with the Glimmerfish while she built her shelter, but they did not wish to listen, still demanding that she return their brother. The next lesson was how to fight. Jackson knew that Andy should know how to defend herself, and the strange frog-like pirates arrived to try and take her things. But Andy told them that she wasn't defenseless. "Hands off my stuff!" she snarled as she knocked one away. The next lesson was perseverance, and Jackson knew that one day she would be exhausted, that she would have to push through. Andy stared at the tidal wave that swept towards the island. She pushed out with her powers, straining to protect her shelter, and when the wave passed, everything was destroyed. "Okay, fine, I'll go, whatever," she sighed, and Jackson taught her that there was always a time to retreat. As she swims from the island, the school of Glimmerfish follow her, still demanding that she return their brother. She turns on them once again, explaining that what happened was an accident. "Then leave him here with us. Leave him here with his family," the fish ask her quietly. But Andy shakes her head. "When I find my brother, I will bring yours back, I swear," she promises, and she continues to swim through the great ocean. Day passed into night. Andy slept while floating along, and her leg, it began to talk. It told her that she'll never make it, and Andy yells at her leg to stop. When the day passed, she finally spoke directly to her leg. "Hey, Glimmer leg fish thing. If you tell me why I keep shifting from world to world, I guess you can talk." And the fish explains that she is traveling through the confluence. It explains that the confluence is alive and that Andy is controlling it subconsciously. It is taking her to her brother in the best way that it knows how. So for 5 years, Andy travels through the confluence. She rides sharks while strange apes chase her through a great forest. She fights alongside the frog pirates. She wrestles giant cats. And finally, she stands on a rock amidst a great ocean. Finally, she has arrived, and she can sense that Jackson is trapped within the prison beneath the waves. I'm going for him. Tonight, she tells her leg. That night, they swim down beneath the ocean, and she is flanked on all sides by strange sea creatures that call this place home. The prison's defenses are no match for them. The piranha-like fish easily make their way past the wall guns, devouring the guards that they come to. The giant sea creatures attack the walls, shrugging off the defenses, eating any who get in their way. And inside, Jackson continues to fight his way through the guards. I'm not going back this time. You want to stop me? You better go all the way. He snarls at them as he kicks another in the face, and one of them stuns him from behind, dropping Jackson to his knees as electricity pours through his body. The others gather around, continuing to shock him as the power goes out in the prison, but the glass shatters above them, and Andy leaps into the chamber. Jackson gasps with a smile, and the water pours into the chamber, with Jackson wielding it to throw the guards away. He looks at his friend, shocked at how much Andy has changed. Have you been here the whole time? Andy asks. And Jackson nods, explaining that they thought he was a spy from Earth. Anger fills Andy as she launches herself at the guards. I'll kill every last one of you, she bellows, hitting them hard, cracking their armor with the pure rage of her assault. And she throws one to the ground, hitting him again and again until her fists are coated in their green blood. Finally, Jackson stops her, reminding her that this isn't their way. He ducks another attack, telling her that they only take what the two can give them. So we give them nothing. Break them all the way down and leave them alive so that they remember who did it, he tells her, as he grabs the guard's spear, twirling it, knocking the guard out in one move. Finally, the two break free of this prison, swimming towards the surface, and the sunlight shines upon them. Andy is still enraged, but Jackson finally gets through to her. Hey, I'm out. They can't follow. It's over. Let them go, he says gently, motioning to the sea creatures that still surround them. Andy's eyes go wide, realizing what she's been doing, and she releases her hold on the creatures, and they slowly swim away. Jackson rubs his neck, smiling at her. Okay. That was some save, partner. He begins, and she begins to cry. Jackson swims to her, pulling her into a hug, promising that they will find a way home. We won't lose each other again, he promises, and he looks at her, reminding her about what he said about dimension hopping and fighting otherworldly creatures. That's how you make the Justice League. He smiles, and Andy wipes away a tear. Liar, she sniffs. That's what I heard, he promises. Future State Dark Detective number 4. When we last left off, Bruce had been injured and declared dead in Gotham. The magistrate then continued to move against masks, continually getting rid of the Bat family. But Bruce has come back and slowly been recovering his memories and is staying under the radar while he tries to come up with a plan to battle against the magistrate and the Peacekeepers. Inside the headquarters of the magistrate, Peacekeeper 01 orders a report on the new surveillance drones that have been sent out of the city. While his aide rundowns the specs, 01 interrupts her and questions the rate of loss. Only a few units have been lost, but 01 removes his helmet, staring at her. Then they are not imperceivable. What you outlined is a liability, and until we account for every unit, we are vulnerable. I will not accept vulnerability at this point in our mission. I want reports on all missing and damaged drones, he orders the group. And after he dismisses the meeting, Noah's daughter, Hannah, stands to leave. The head of the meeting looks at her, telling her to have a report by the end of the day, and she nods, but is interrupted as her phone begins to ring. Dad, I'm at work. Can it wait? She whispers quickly as she leaves the office. It's Jeff! He's on the roof! Noah shouts crazily. Not wishing to argue, Hannah nods and tells her father that she'll be there soon. At their apartment, Bruce continues to make adjustments to the antenna that Noah had put on his rooftop. He flips a switch and begins to climb down, and as he reaches the bottom of the ladder, he pauses. Noah, I'm going to need you to put the gun down, he says quietly. A short time later, Bruce is in his basement apartment finishing up on the computer. He grabs his gear and he heads upstairs. The apartment is quiet as he looks around. Suddenly, the door slams open and Hannah storms in, demanding to know where her father is, questioning whether Bruce is robbing him. He's safe for now, Bruce assures her. But she doesn't like his answer, continuing to demand answers. Hannah, I'm sorry, Bruce tells her, stepping forward, injecting a sedative into her neck. He quickly carries her outside, putting her into a van next to her father. As he drives away, the magistrate deploys at the apartment building, drones shattering through the window, scanning the rooms for the location of the signal that attracted them. But the drones only find a device with a countdown. 01 realizes what is about to happen, yelling for his men to evacuate, and the building explodes, taking out the drones. One of the drone's pilots then reports in, informing 01 that they didn't get a clear visual of the basement apartment. "Find him, now!" 01 demands. Hannah awakens a short time later, her father nearby, still passed out from drugs that Bruce has given him. "There's water on the couch, you're probably dehydrated," Bruce tells her. He sits nearby, dressed in his most tactical gear. "I need to ask you some questions," he tells her. "Why did you drug us?" she demands to know, and he nods, telling her that he needed to get them both somewhere safe. He looks at her for a moment before continuing. "My name isn't Jeff, it's Bruce Wayne. I'm being hunted by the magistrate who had Noah's location. They raided it an hour ago. Now it's gone. They were coming to kill me again. I couldn't leave any evidence." Bruce begins to question Hannah about her job at the magistrate, about what she knows about their surveillance tech, and she holds up her small recording device, explaining that she's been gathering evidence for months. She's planning on exposing them. Bruce listened to a few, finally nodding. "So the magistrate's plan is to install their own justice, with this surveillance at its core." Hannah explains that no one knows to the level that the magistrate is watching them. They've become judge and jury. She knows that eventually the magistrate will move on from the vigilantes and their enemy will be anyone that they disagree with. Bruce stands up, asking Hannah to stay in the bunker. "I have cloaking tech on this place. They won't find you," he promises, and he leaves the bunker. Later, Batman stands on the roof, dressed in full tactical gear, looking down at the magistrate headquarters. His coat flaps open in the night breeze as he moves fast, infiltrating the magistrate compound. Batarang disables cybers, and Batman remains in the shadows. A well-placed bomb gets the magistrate employees to evacuate. And inside of the compound, Batman stops, ordering the computer to locate Hannah Harris. He finds her in her office, downloading evidence from the magistrate computers. "You have 4 minutes to get out of here," Batman growls at her. On the street below, one of his soldiers reports to 01 that the explosives have been found and match the signature from the apartment bomb earlier. "He's in here," 01 whispers as he walks to the entrance. "Secure the building." In her office, Hannah pulls out the USB drive as she finishes. Batman grabs her, pulling her down the office as the drones begin to close in on them. "Bruce Wayne!" 01 calls, launching himself across the room, tackling Batman. "Hannah, run!" Batman shouts as 01 cracks him across the jaw. They struggle and 01 kicks Batman through one of the windows, allowing them to tumble through the air. "This ends now!" Batman snarls. "This is just the beginning. I'm going to save this city. I have the power now. No one can stop me," he tells him. Hannah keeps running, finally reaching the outside, but as she stops short, she sees a squad of cybers coming towards her. She looks down at the USB in her hand. "Hannah, you can't swallow a vitamin, but you're gonna swallow this FOB, and if you throw it up, it'll be the end of democracy in Gotham," she whispers to herself, closing her eyes, forcing the equipment down her throat. Inside of the building, Batman and 01 continue to trade blows as fires billow around them. But with each punch that lands, 01 laughs. "I burned it all down so that I could build a new city, my order. Don't you think that I would kill you again to preserve it? This isn't your city, and you didn't kill me." Batman snarls at him. 01 glares at him as they pause, and elsewhere in the building, the timer reaches 0. "I'm burning it all down," Batman tells him as the magistrate headquarters erupts into a ball of flame. Next up is Future State Red Hood, taking place in the backup of Dark Detective number 4. When we last left off, Red Hood had seemingly been working for the Peacekeepers to bring in bounties, but a new alert on his phone while he was with Ravager told him that he was next. Red Hood curses as he looks at the bounty alert on his phone, the alert that's for him. "Why is your head worth so much?" Ravager asks casually. Red Hood doesn't respond, bending down, looking at the corpse of the Mad Hatter. "Every single merc in Gotham is going to be gunning for you now, hun." She continues as she reaches for the sword by her side, but when she turns, Jason is no longer in the room. "Oh, foreplay," Ravager whispers with a smile. Red Hood revs his motorcycle as he drives away from the warehouse, getting on the line with the Magistrate Mask Hunter Dispatch, demanding to know why a mask alert was sent out for him. There's a pause on the other end as the dispatch checks. "Must be an error in the system. I'll flag it. Why don't you come in? The magistrate will take care of you," the dispatch tells him. There's another pause and the dispatch tells him to go to the station that he's about to pass. "Wait, are you tracking my call?" Red Hood asks. The drones open fire, hitting the road around Red Hood, throwing his bike through the air. He lands in a roll and he keeps moving, rounds chewing up the concrete around him. He turns, throwing his chain, hooking 2 of them, and the drones smash together, exploding. 2 more buzz in, opening fire, clipping Jason in the shoulder. He takes cover behind a car. The round rips into it, blowing it up. A short time later, Peacekeeper 03 investigates that crime scene. He finds the shattered remains of Red Hood's helmet. Sweep the area for any masks in that damn helmet. The magistrate wants to know who made it tonight. Though wounded, Jason manages to slip into the shadows, pulling himself up a fire escape, finally arriving at the rooftops. Inside, he uses a medkit from his belt, sealing up his wounds, and he sits, breathing heavy as he stares into the lights of Gotham. I miss this view. He whispers to himself, knowing that he has no choice, and he pulls on the Red Hood helmet with the Hatter tech. Come find me, Rose, he whispers before his mind is taken over. Red Hood moves through the city quickly, finally arriving at the nondescript building. He takes out the guards inside, using an elevator to head below ground. You're late, or are you right on time? The White Rabbit calls out as Jason steps off the elevator. She walks across the room regarding Red Hood. Curious? You're not who I was expecting, she says, before turning to her men, telling them all to pack up their tech. We might be burnt, she explains, and Jason grits his teeth, trying to fight the tech so that he can hit the woman, but his fist stops inches from her face. The White Rabbit just smiles, explaining that Jervis wasted his tech, that he refused to work with the powers that be. So I updated it, brought it into the future, and they gave me everything that I wanted, she tells him. But I got bored and decided to help the community. You'd be surprised how many people would put on a mask even if it controls them, she whispers as she hugs Red Hood from behind. Story of my life, Ravager says, as she holds her sword to the back of White Rabbit's neck. I see Jason as a type, she says with a smile. The rabbit demands to know how Ravager found them, and Rose explains that she has precog powers. And I saw me and Red Hood here, which tells me that this is what he wanted. It's cute that he thinks it'll save him, she tells the woman. But the rabbit orders Jason to kill Rose, so he leaps at her, twirling his chain and his knife. Rose blocks the first blow, whirling, kicking him in the back. Jason turns, trying to attack again, but Rose dodges, slashing at his face, breaking the helmet. Jason smiles at her, one eye revealed. Knew you'd find me. He smirks. You're lucky I have a crush on you, she smiles back. And as the guards move in, Jason turns to the White Rabbit, demanding to know who she's working for and why they want the helmet. Don't you get it? She says, holding up the piece of the helmet. She tells Jason that they have the same boss. The eyes in the sky don't want any of our plans discovered, she tells him. When suddenly an explosion takes out a wall and the magistrate drones buzz into the room. They open fire immediately and Jason jumps behind a desk. Rose, how do we escape this? What is the future showing you? That you should have kissed me before you left this morning, she shouts as she pulls one of the guards into the path of a bullet. But Jason rushes across the room, tackling Rose out of the exploded wall. He throws his chain, hooking it onto one of the drones, and swings away as the hideout is destroyed. But one of the drones followed him. Before Jason could attack, Rose pulls out her knife, pressing it to his neck. My name is Mask Hunter Ravager, and I'm claiming the bounty on Jason Todd. But I'm bringing him in alive, she shouts. The drones stare at them for a moment before finally turning and flying away. Jason rubs his throat, turning to Rose. Let's go to your dad's secret island. I could use some sun. And with that, they head off. Later, Jason is standing with the Peacekeepers during the cleanup. Peacekeeper 03 apologizes to Jason for a mix-up in the system. All clear now. The magistrate will even offer you hazard pay for your troubles, he explains. 03 turns, asking if Jason recovered any of the contraband that White Rabbit was using to control her Red Hood gang. But Jason turns and walks away. Your drones did a number on the place. Nothing was left. He walks over to his recovered bike, and from the shadows of the alleyway nearby, a voice speaks to him. Did you get it? The person asks. Jason tells them that he did. He tells them that he also wants Ravager out of the city. I'll see what I can do, the voice tells him. Jason nods, revving his bike. I bet you will. The sun is out. You better get to bed, he calls as he drives away. This is Future State Suicide Squad number 2. Last time in the Suicide Squad, we discovered that Waller went to Earth 3 to make a new Suicide Squad, but the originals went in to get her back. Connor floats with his eyes closed, bathing in the sunlight, the team radioing in as he opens up his eyes and he can see them all on the mountain. Wonder Woman asking Flash to explain it again, and the speedster is a blur around the mountain as she continues to place the Brainiac tech everywhere. But while she works, Flash explains that with all the Brainiac tech activated, Earth 3 will be locked away from everyone and everything forever. Aquaman questions this in his alien language, but Superman floats over, reminding the alien that his people are free and that they can't come to Earth. You are the exception to the rule, Superman nods, as Aquaman questions his role, but a shock rolls through Aquaman and the alien hits the ground. You aren't the exception, you're a means to an end that is almost within my grasp, Waller explains as an image of her appears. She walks out of the chamber telling the group that she is expecting company. And that night, members of the Suicide Squad watch the house where Waller lives. Peacemaker watches the woman through his thermal binoculars, reminding his team that their plan is to get Waller and bring her home. Her plan of this perfect world where she can get away with what she wants isn't a reality. We gotta time this perfectly. On my mark, people. Over at the mountain, Mirror Master and Lord Zod prepare to attack as Peacemaker counts down. The rest of the team slips through the windows of Waller's apartment as Peacemaker orders them to attack. But before they can move, Martian Manhunter begins to form in front of the floor, reminding the team that Waller is never alone. Aquaman smiles as he turns towards the villains and the Flash appears. Do you really think Waller didn't know you guys were coming? She asks. And in the apartment, Peacemaker opens fire as he orders his team to clear him a path. He rushes forward, kicking through the door, telling Waller that it's time to come home. It's good to see you, Christopher. Waller says that she simply sips her tea. Meanwhile, back at the mountain, Mirror Master fires his gun at Flash, trapping her in a series of mirrors, while Zod attacks Aquaman, pulling the alien's spectral form out of his body. But back at the apartment, an evil star falls to the floor, gasping as he dies. Waller then points out the member to Peacemaker, reminding him that the team will die because they don't belong on this world. That's your future if you stay here, she tells him. Evil Star knew the risks, and he's not done serving the team yet. Peacemaker tells her as he pulls out a detonator, pushing the button. The explosion rips apart half of the apartment, and Peacemaker turns back to Waller, telling her that back home is a mess because of her. And only you can fix it. Earth needs you. Flag is asking for your help, Waller, and so am I, Peacemaker tells her. But Amanda looks at him. She reveals that she doesn't know who Flag is, but believes that she's distracted him for long enough. Peacemaker's eyes widen with shock. No, you're not my Waller, he gasps. And in her base of operations, Waller commands her team to finish the job so that they can get the engines online. Worry about what's in front of you. I've already taken care of the rest, she tells the team. All of the bombs that have been laced through Martian Manhunter suddenly detonate, tearing the apartment building to ruins. Connor stops his fight with Zod, turning in shock at what he hears, and the evil Kryptonian slams his fist into Superman's face, knowing that his team is dead. He then hits him again, throwing him through the wall. Wonder Woman smashes through Mirror Master's mirror, trying to hypnotize him, but Zod steps through the wall to continue his fight with this Earth's Superman, with Connor. That's when there's a blur of motion and a crackle of the Speed Force, and he gasps, falling to his knees, blood beginning to leak from his eyes, nose, and mouth. Flash is shocked as she holds the kryptonite gun in her hand. I thought this was supposed to neutralize him, she stammers. He is neutralized, permanently, Waller tells her over the radio, and in their fight, Wonder Woman hits the ground before she manages to hypnotize Mirror Master. The former member of the Rogues finally gets an evil smile as he turns away from the fight. Long live the Justice Squad, he growls. Sorry, Scudder, but you know what it means when you switch teams. Make sure you stand real close to everyone, okay? Peacemaker announces over the radio, and the explosion rips through the mountain, shaking the building down to Waller's command center. Suddenly, there's a gunshot, and Waller winces in pain, and at the door, Peacemaker limps through. It's over, Waller, he announces as he coughs. And behind him, Parademon falls dead, leaving Peacemaker the last member of the Suicide Squad. He turns to Waller, still aiming the pistol. Time to come home, he tells her, but she struggles to her feet, telling Peacemaker that she is home. And I am never alone, she growls as Superman appears behind her. Stand down, Peacemaker, while you still can, Connor orders him. Waller orders Connor to kill the man, but he refuses. I am not a criminal. He shoots his heat vision out, destroying Waller's detonator, having seen it fall to the ground after she got shot. And a moment passes, and the woman just smiles. That's my boy, she says. Peacemaker and Superman are stunned at her words as she explains that Superman didn't destroy the detonator, he destroyed the kill switch. The shield activates, sealing away Earth 3 forever. Peacemaker continues to cough, falling to the ground as he dies. and Waller begins to die too. As she stumbles, Connor catches her. Why? He questions as she coughs, explaining that the world needed someone to watch over it. And now you are what you always wanted to be, Superman, she tells him with her dying breath. Future State, Batman and Superman #2. Now, when we last left off with this storyline, it was taking place all the way at the beginning of the Future State, with the invention of the Magistrate, and the villain known as Professor Pig was basically being helped by another character known as Mr. Toad to get all of these plans in place, and they actually ended up capturing Superman using kryptonite. Batman just found him, and that was where we left off. So today is Future State, Batman Superman #2. Batman looks up. Superman is strapped to a table, pushed along by Mr. Toad, flanked by a goat octopus man. Back away from Superman, now! Batman orders, but Mr. Toad just keeps moving. Make sure he doesn't follow, he tells the goat man, and the goat quickly moves, its giant octopus tentacles swirling around as he threatens Batman. But Batman just ducks and throws a small device that attaches to the goat's head. A concussion shockwave rips through his head, knocking him unconscious in seconds. And he moves to the window, watching Mr. Toad drive away. But the tentacles then twitch, and Batman remembers that octopuses also have neurons in their arms. He's thrown out the window, landing hard on the concrete below, his leg twisting at an odd angle. The homeless man that helped Superman earlier tries to move to help Batman, but he orders him to get back. While he's almost certain that these people aren't working for the Magistrate, he doesn't want to take that chance. He calls his bike over, limping towards it, mounting it, and with a roar, he drives off into the night. Meanwhile, at their secret lair, Mr. Toad wheels the unconscious Superman into the room. I must admit, I had my doubts about you, but you proved yourself quite worthy of the name, Mr. Toad, Professor Pig tells his associate. Toad glares at the villain, reminding him to keep the Magistrate away from his daughter. Pig snorts as he picks up a kryptonite bit and begins to place it on his drill. And as he walks over to the table, Superman struggles. Superman, you're awake! How delightful! Pig snorts. Where am I? Superman struggles as he tries to sit up. But later, Batman surveys the city. He placed the cryogenic sleeve on his leg to heal it and tried to track Superman. He looks through the files that he downloaded, aware that the false face serum is actually manufactured by the Magistrate. He knows that they have Clark somewhere, and he just has to find him. But in Pig's operating room, Superman looks over at Mr. Toad. He's still weak from the kryptonite that is strapped to his chest. What did Pig do to me? Best not to ask, Mr. Toad tells the hero simply. Superman doesn't understand. He knows that Mr. Toad wasn't lying before, and he questions why he is working for Pig. I underestimated my opponent, Superman. Now I'm paying the price. I'm simply ensuring that my family doesn't have to pay too, Toad tells him. Is betraying your own beliefs the best way to protect your family? Superman asks him. Meanwhile, out in the city, Batman stumbles across one of the Magistrate cybers. The robot scans him, announcing that his mask is lined with lead in violation of the city's laws. Batman dodges behind cover as the robot opens fire on him, and as he comes out fast, he stuns the enemy with batarangs before knocking its head off. He follows the signal, looking down on the building in the darkness. He then slips past the guards, finding a way inside, and it is then that he discovers that the Magistrate has begun creating synthetic kryptonite. He turns at the sound of a voice as Pig enters the room, glaring at the villain. I'm surprised they haven't locked you up yet. The Magistrate isn't too fond of masks, Batman remarks, but Pig snorts in laughter. They make exceptions for surgeons. I heard you visited my little club. Did you enjoy yourself? Pig asks, explaining that when the Magistrate discovered the False Face Society, it had planned to destroy them. But Pig convinced them that the best way to track the descendants was to take charge of those descendants. And now I have my best Mr. Toad ever, an artist like me. Oh, the masterpieces that we've created together. Pig snorts as he places two of the false face devices on his arms, and his hands transform before Batman, becoming two massive boar's heads. Elsewhere in the building, Mr. Toad is helping Superman escape, but they suddenly stop as they hear a growling coming from the shadows. It's one of Mr. Pig's creations, Toad yells as a massive mutated version of Superman steps out of the darkness. Stay behind me, Superman orders, and the monster blasts Superman with heat vision from his 8 eyes. But the Man of Steel deflects it, knocking the monster through the wall. Bats! Superman shouts as he lands in the room. Soups. Batman nods. Superman knows that Batman is relieved to see him. He almost never calls him Soups. The two friends step back to back as Batman explains that Pig has given himself the strength of 10 wild boars. Let's trade, Batman says. Superman doesn't know if that's such a good idea. I don't have bad ideas. We're trading, Batman tells him as he twirls to face the multi-eyed monster. Batman leaps into the air, and once he's far enough from Clark, he pulls the shards of kryptonite out of his cape, stabbing them into the monster's chest. It growls with pain and falls to the floor, allowing Batman to remove the mutation device. Superman doesn't have to do much. He moves fast, punching Pig in the face, knocking him to the ground. Superman's eyes burn with anger as he thinks about how Pig used him as a lab experiment. This entire facility is dedicated to your awful experiments. Do me a favor, Mr. Toad. Pull the fire alarm. Superman unleashes his heat vision on the facility, burning it to the ground, and quickly, the two heroes manage to pull everyone to safety. The next day, Batman calls in the aid of Animal Man, and he helps them remove the extra DNA from the animals in the city, while Batman removes the transmission chips. Inside one of his micro bat caves, Batman and Superman survey the city, Clark turning to his friend. We've crippled the magistrate's bioengineering operations, but we haven't put him out of commission. But Batman interrupts him. There's no way. I'm doing this one alone, Batman tells him, and he explains that the magistrate has already begun to grow synthetic kryptonite, that they knew Superman would come, that he is a liability. He explains that Superman can't be trusted. You don't see them for what they actually are. They're not a terror organization. They didn't invade Gotham. We invited them. We let our fear, anger, and other base emotions overrule our judgment. The magistrate captured you once, they'll do it again. But next time, they'll be unstoppable, Batman tells him. But Superman begins to argue, and so Batman pulls out a device that has been armed with Superman's DNA and sends a blast of heat vision that Clark barely avoids, and he holds it up. Gotham won't survive a militia armed with your DNA, Clark. There's no place for trust in Gotham, he tells him. But before Superman can continue to argue, Batman narrows his eyes. Get out of my city, he growls. And finally, Superman begins to fly away. He believes Batman. Trusts him with the city, whether you like it or not. In Metropolis, Mr. Toad returns home, hugging his daughter, when suddenly there's a rush of air and their mailbox rattles. They open it to reveal a letter from Superman. If you need help, call me with this. The note reads, and they smile as they look at the signal device. And there you have it. Future State is officially done here at the Comicstorian channel. We might come back eventually and do some of the other storylines that we kind of skipped over, like Swamp Thing, but overall, this is pretty much it. The Bruce Wayne storyline has been left hanging. It'll be continued in the Detective Comics storyline, and Infinite Frontier, which has started up this week and we'll be covering next week, is the basically new direction for DC Comics. It's a fresh restart, a whole bunch of new storylines. If you're wondering how to get into DC Comics, all of the Future State stuff will be good to read, and then Infinite Frontier is another good starting point. My opinions on these storylines: I loved that Bruce Wayne storyline. I loved the kind of possibilities that came out of Red Hood. Batman and Superman I found to be a lot of fun, and Aquawoman I was really excited for. The Suicide Squad storyline kind of like petered off. I don't know, it was only 2 issues, and I liked the idea in the first issue, but with the second issue it was kind of like, all right, well, just turned into a big fight. But either way, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget that you too can vote on what's coming next to this channel by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. Thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll see you next time right here at Infinite Frontier next Friday.